Everyone's seen a Barbie like this, but back in the day, this would have been bang on trend. The Taj Mahal of the backyard in Australia. You can just imagine the setting. You got the Ghetto Blaster. You drop a tape in there to pump out some tunes. You've got cold ones going down dead easy, and you're burning your bangers on the Barbie. Not to mention the fashion. Imagine if I got a job on TV. Well, if you fast forward to today, it doesn't cut the mustard. We expect more from our barbecues, and we expect them to be outdoor entertaining zones. Well, rather than knocking this down, I'm going to work with it and drag it into today and make it bang on trend again. The first thing you got to do is step back and look at what you're working with. Now, the surface here is all ugly and broken and cracked, so I'm going to replace that, but the brickwork everywhere is perfect and a touch of luxury. Have you seen the cost of a bricklayer at the moment? And as far as the Barbie goes, well, I can't find a gas Barbie that fits this space perfectly, so I'm going to use that void there for something else. This space here will be the new Barbie, creating an extra bench on that side and all this area here as workspace. Now I'm going to build the Barbie in. It looks a lot smarter, and when Barbies are standing on four skinny little legs, they look like they're out of proportion. Easiest way to do it, bolt off a couple of pieces of timber and sit a frame on it. It'll be structurally sound because it's attached to all this brickwork. Now, to give our Barbie a new top, I'm using compressed fibro flooring. This is the stuff you might see on an old balcony when they jazz it up, put this down, and then they cover it with a tile or a paver. One sheet will do exactly what we need here. The best thing about it, it's weatherproof, but it's also fireproof. So we can box around our Barbie and be ultra safe. Boxed out some pine to make a new workbench, and I can clad that in hardwood. It'll be flush with the new gas Barbie. You'll notice that it's much higher than the existing surfaces and the old wood-fired barbecue that goes in there. Reason why, wood-fired barbecue is a bit slower. Dad would come out to cook. He'd sit down, he could turn the food and keep an eye on the coals and the flame. Because we use gas these days, it's as simple as standing up and just turning a few knobs. This height here, perfect for working on, and that lower height around there, great for presenting the food to your friends and family. I'm going to dress the top of the servery up with some great big tiles. Now, tiling can seem a little bit daunting to people, but if you do a couple of things well, you'll get a good job. First one is work out where you're going to start so you know where you're going to finish. And what I mean by that is this is the most prominent corner where I can't hide a mistake. So I'm putting a full tile down here, and then that'll get me a full tile here. As I work up towards the new Barbie, I'll only have the one cut to make, and it'll be next to the Barbie, so it won't look like an accident. Now, it's a legal requirement to have some separation, something that's fireproof, between a built-in barbecue and any timber structure. So I've got another bit of the compressed cement that I can put up the side here and screw it in before I put my decking boards down. Oh, that's how sharp my corners are. I'm just cladding the top of this workbench, and normally you'd run long ways and have the least amount of cuts with your timber. But I'm using some beautiful spotted gum. It's an Aussie native. And the reason why I'm going across is because I got the timber for free. It's just left over from a job I did last week. It's not long enough to go this way, but it's perfect to go across, cut a 45 and go down the front. And when we're finished, it'll be a real design feature rather than timber that was just too short. It'll look a little bit like a butcher's block. The glue on the tiles is now set, and that means I can grout. I'm using a dark colour because being outside, it'll get pretty dirty, and white grout would end up looking pretty grotty. And to finish off the tiling, a steel edge will do the job just nicely. The barbecue rescue is really starting to take shape, but the existing brickwork needs a good clean before we can add the real heroes to this entertainer. Well, most of the construction's done. I've pretty much doubled the workbench by adding this. Here's our space for the new Barbie. I've still got a surprise for this, and the tile's looking fantastic. And because we've got the wall, what I can do is put some brackets on this side, add a piece of timber, and add some herbs. And that way, when you're cooking, you can really trick up your meals by adding something fresh that's easily accessible straight at your hand. Another stick of timber will dress up the top of this brickwork, and I could try to screw it down, but the bricks are extruded, which means they've got all these holes in it, and trying to hit something solid, not being able to see it, is near impossible. A bit of a lucky dip. So what I'm going to do is glue it down, get good connectivity, and hope for the best. The old chimney is a wasted space. By gluing a couple of tiles over the top, we get a much more useful area, and everything's tied together. That's a lot of brickwork and it's not really doing anything. So I'm going to dress it up with 3 of these rusty motifs of leaves. What I've noticed straight away is the rust in front of the brick doesn't really pop. To change the background, I've got 3 pieces of off-cut ply again. Also, I'm screwing into the mortar joint, so if you do take it off, you don't have big holes into the brickwork. It means I'm painting to it and not the brickwork. So if you ever want to take it off, the brickwork's not going to have 3 random squares of paint colour. And this is a great anchor point for the rusty motif, plus a timber frame that I'm going to put around it with a little ledge on it, drilling into the side of it rather than into the brickwork. And the little ledges, they work perfect for your cold one while you're barbecuing, or your drill when you're finishing construction. Now, speaking of barbies, we used to have a wood-fired one. That's what that void there's for. 2016, we're going for gas. Now, the only tricky thing is you need to know where your gas is connected to your barbie. This one is on the right-hand side. So I've got this little nook here, and I can fit the cranny through. That's where nook and cranny comes from. And I can cover it up with another board and be nice and neat. You've got to realise that when you open the door, it takes up more room. That's why we've got this void here. Oh, really ready to cook. And a couple of gas bottles. One for the barbie and one for another surprise. One of the things that always lets down beautiful built-in barbecues like this is when you can see the ugly gas bottle. So I've created a bit of a modesty screen or a privacy screen. So they're happy doing their job, but we don't have to look at them. You still got easy access to them, but it looks a lot prettier. And speaking of pretty, let's get these herbs potted. The first 2 pots I've planted are oregano and Italian parsley, and that might be a hint to what else we're going to put into this new alfresco area. You could mix and match all your herbs, it might look prettier, but clumping them together is more practical because they'll need the same sort of conditions and water. Things like rosemary, I'm going to put them in bigger pots. And this low, flat bowl is just what you need for a range of Asian herbs. You see this quite often in restaurants and cafes where they dress spaces up and make gas barbies and cookers look like they're wood-fired. And stacked firewood solves that problem of the old void from the barbie. And it's a perfect base for a pizza oven. Now, it's gas-fired, it's less than $300, but it definitely turns this outdoor barbecue area into a modern outdoor barbecue area. Let's fire it up and start the ham and pineapple. It looks $1 million. The best thing about it, we haven't painted any of the brickwork, put on any render. It hasn't been a massive makeover. And the timber work, well, it just dresses in and ties it up together. The barbie was only $250, and the pizza oven, $300. But you put the 2 together, and you're going to use this space twice as much.